guys, welcome to the Wonderfully Complex podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Misty.
And we are just two women that are studying the Word together and learning what that looks like to apply to our everyday life and having fun along the way. So come on and join us.
Okay, let's get at it.
Hey guys, all right, we are going to start in chapter 8, verse 1. Now about food sacrifice idols. We know that we all possess knowledge, but knowledge puffs up while love builds up. Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know, but whoever loves God is known by God. So then, about eating food sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. For even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came, from whom we live, and there is but one Lord Jesus Christ, through whom all things came, and through whom we live.
Oh, so we're talking about all of that again. And it's just, I don't know. I really like that while knowledge makes us feel important, I just love that strengthens the church. Because that's so good. I mean, how many times have we sat underneath a teacher that's just all puffed up?
Mm-hmm.
And they were dealing with that in Corinth too, just with the people like acting like they knew everything.
Yeah, it doesn't create a community. It creates more of it gives a separation between the two.
Right.
And when, I think if Paul's talking about there, like when you're, especially with further into this chapters, like he's talking about when you're loving one another and when you take the ego out of it, then love is there. When you take the ego out, love is there.
Mm-hmm.
And those that have all the knowledge kind of separate that.
Yeah. Well, and it causes division, like we learn about later too. And we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Because then you have one person who's being followed by everybody and another person who's being followed by the rest of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not a good thing. But then it says the person who loves God is the one whom God recognizes. I mean, that's really cool.
And that's where the focus needs to be.
Yeah. We want God to recognize us, not have a bunch of followers.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's going back to what he was talking about in Acts, where they had forbid, the eating of food for idols. No, eating food sacrificed to idols. And now in Corinth, they have this thing to where the food that is sacrificed to the idols, part of it would have been used for the ceremony, and the other part would have went to the marketplace. And that food would have been a lot cheaper to buy than the meat that hadn't been sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
And so especially in Corinth, there was food shortages and
a lot of poor people.
And so he's saying, this means nothing to us. So an idol, we know that, especially when he's like going back to God here, is nothing compared to God. There's only one God, the Father, and only one Creator, and only one Jesus. And that's who we're worshiping. We know this isn't anything. And he talks a little bit later on about, different boundaries we should have with it. But overall, we need to keep the main thing, and realize that even though the Israelites at that time would have believed that there were other spirits that were being worshipped, that actually had influence over the culture, that once you believe in Jesus and you're following God, that nothing else really has a hold on you, and you don't have to worry about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
However, not all believers know this. Some are accustomed to thinking of idols as being real. So when they eat the food that has been offered to idols, they think of it as the worship of real gods, and their weak consciousnesses are violated. It is true that we can't win God's approval by what we eat. We don't lose anything if we don't eat it, and we don't gain anything if we do. But you must be careful so that your freedom does not cause others with a weaker conscience to stumble. For if others see you with your superior knowledge, that's in quotes, eating in the temple of an idol, won't they be encouraged to violate their conscience by eating food that has been offered to an idol? So because of your superior knowledge, a weak believer for whom Christ died will be destroyed. And when you sin against other believers by encouraging them to do something they believe is wrong, you are sinning against Christ. So if what I eat causes another believer to sin, I will never eat meat again as long as I live, for I don't want to cause another believer to stumble. So that's so good, isn't it?
Yes.
This here with just being, I don't know, conscious of the people around you. It's such a big deal. It's like, how many times do we like look around and we'll see somebody doing something and like, well, that's dumb.
Yeah.
And then we make them feel stupid for it. Or we like, why would you put that restriction on yourself? Or, you know, especially if, because I've run into Christians who, you know, they feel like they need to be vegetarians,
Mm-hmm.
or Christians who have put, you know, other restrictions on themselves. And it's like, that's okay. It's really okay. If they're feeling convicted for that, as long as they're not sinning against God, it's really okay to allow the believers to go a little more than what they need to. And for that time being, it may be a big deal. The Spirit might be telling them to stay away from something for a period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it in my notes that at this time Paul was talking to the church because there was new believers who were converted from idol worshippers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were at that time not wanting to eat meat because it was meat that was sacrificed for animals. And if they were to eat meat, they would have been tempted to resort back to their old ways.
Right.
And so in this, Paul was saying you need to flee from that and not cause one of your brothers and sisters who are new to the belief
Mm-hmm.
of God and to their walk with God, that you don't cause them to stumble, even though you feel good with eating meat.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think we just have to be more aware of our environment and getting to know those that are around us that are believers, and knowing their history with where they're at and what could cause them to stumble.
Mm-hmm.
And that we are more caring and cautious of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really good. And I like how he's, you know, talking about the weaker and stuff like that. You know, like as a parent, like how many times do we not do things around our children because we're scared that it might confuse them or they wouldn't understand it? It's more of an adult thing, even though it's not a wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's just something we wouldn't do around our kids. And I think, you know, it's really good to just keep in mind that these young believers are like children.
Yeah.
And to be, you know, supportive of that.
Protective of that.
Right. And allow them to grow at the pace they need to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in my version, where was it at? It says in 11, so the weaker brother or sister for whom Christ died is destroyed by your knowledge. That word destroyed, that's like, it's a strong word, and that you don't want to cause them to fall away from Christ.
Right.
Like your own actions to do that, like that.
Mm-hmm.
God is like, Paul keeps talking about how we need to be less about ourselves and care more about loving other people. And if even though it's a Christian right, doesn't mean we should be acting upon it if it's causing someone else to stumble.
Right. Yep. That's good. Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Well, I think that's wrapping up chapter 8.
Chapter 8. Yeah.
Okay.